What is up, Packers fans, and welcome back to another episode of Packer Report TV. I am your host and the publisher of that very website, Ross Uglem, once again coming to you from deep in enemy territory in the lakes of Minnesota. You can see the wonderful fishing decor behind me. That's how we roll on the weekends in the summertime, but summertime is fast leaving us because football season is on its way. Today, another 5 things to watch in a Packers preseason game. I thought we did an okay job um, last week. I thought, we were pretty well prepared for that game as far as things to watch. Talking about that offensive line battle, talking about the quarterbacks, talking about getting to see Jeff Hafley's defense for the first time. Um, Thought we kind of put you guys on a decent path, and we're going to talk about some of that stuff again. But getting you guys ready, and that's one thing to know, getting you guys ready for Sunday night. A lot of you, I'm guessing there are some of you, and most of you watching this channel are pretty hardcore, but there are probably some of you that aren't interested in NFL Plus and paying for NFL Plus, and being able to watch out of market. And obviously, if you're in the state of Wisconsin, you're fine, but being able to watch out of market Packers preseason games live is maybe not your uh, biggest priority in life, especially not paying, for that. And by the way, I totally get that. With that said, though, Sunday night, NFL Network, national TV game, Packers Broncos. The bright lights, as bright as they get, I guess, in the preseason are going to be on, but that game's going to be live. And you don't need NFL Plus. You got Fubo, excuse me. You got YouTube TV, you got standard cable, whatever. If you have NFL Network, you're going to be able to watch the game live with me and everybody else. No special subscriptions required. So that's pretty cool. You always hope, the Packers get one of their preseason games carried that way. Of course, I, for work, do the NFL Plus of it all, but it's nice to have it kind of be live and not have the beat guys like, a play and a half ahead of you all the time on the Twitter machine. So that should be a fun thing for you guys. Any opportunity to me to watch the green and gold. And I kind of like preseason just because, I get so stressed out during like regular season games because of the stakes, and I get so stressed out during playoff games because of the stakes. That watching Packers football where you don't really care who wins is sort of a refreshing thing, as much as it is largely meaningless. Something that's not meaningless, and I tell you what, I can't remember what I was listening to the other day or watching. Somebody said either like 12 or 13 teams, NFL teams last year, had their starters play all of their regular season games. And obviously the Packers were one of them, right? That we did not have a Sean Clifford start last season, but um, we had that Aaron Rodgers, right? Saw some Matt Flynn, some needed Matt Flynn, not some fun Detroit Lakes, some fun New Year's Day Detroit Lions. Goodness, Detroit Lakes, Detroit Lions, New Year's Day stuff. We had some like Dallas stuff, some like we need to get this done stuff. You guys remember the Brett Hundley games, the Scott Tolzien games, the Seneca Wallace spot duty. Like those are situations, a lot of those situations you really don't want to get into. And Flynn did fine, and his comeback in Dallas was truly awesome. But if you want to be solid at that position, and that brings me to this Michael Pratt versus Sean Clifford. I've been singing the praises of Michael Pratt. Everybody knows that. We have Matty Hudak on here talking about him, and like I said, to me, Pratt and Clifford were such different stratospheres as talents, as draft prospects. Like I would not even be looking at Sean Clifford right now, but I'm not the Green Bay Packers. With that said, though, it does sound like, after that strong performance, PFF loved Michael Pratt's performance against the Browns. After that strong performance and some kind of continued struggles from Sean Clifford, you started to see a little bit more Pratt in practice. In Green Bay, don't know how it went in Denver. We'll talk about how things went in Denver, but a little bit of a more opportunity because, as I mentioned, going into the Browns game, like it would be fun to see Michael Pratt play with better players, but play with better Packers players, and then B go against better defenders. Like was he going against guys playing for the Browns that are going to be working for UPS in 2 weeks? I don't know, but it would have been fun to see Pratt with the twos. And I think we mostly saw Clifford with the twos, which, whatever, it happens. But do we see a little bit of a transposition there? It doesn't sound like it. It sounds like Sean Clifford's going to get the start. Does Sean Clifford get time with Watson, Dobbs, Wicks, Reed? Or is that a situation where, hey man, we ran 3 plays, scored a 65-yard touchdown, like we're putting these guys on ice? Specific to Wicks and Reed, who are second-year guys, not third-year guys, I don't know if I'd be putting any second-year guys on ice. That's just me. Um, yeah, I don't know, but we'll see if Michael Pratt gets an opportunity to work with those guys at all. We'll see if Sean Clifford even gets an opportunity to work with those guys. I don't know that he will, but again, everything counts. This battle is just in general an interesting one to watch for me, and it's going to be my prime focus when I'm taking in Packers Broncos. Two, I think the bounce back from the joint practice that doesn't seem like it went very well. Um, that's interesting to me because was it anything that they took personally, right? Are those like those guys are online? They're not habitually online like we all are, but I'm sure they know that they got their butts kicked by the Broncos, and I don't think anybody thought the Broncos were going to be some, great squad this year. I don't think anybody thought the Broncos should have been anything but, maybe a strong test for the Packers in practice. But for everybody on both beats to basically say that the Packers got their butts kicked on Friday's joint practice situation, that's just it's not great. It's not the big deal. Like I care less about a joint practice than I even care about a preseason game. But you still want to play well instead of playing bad. Playing bad is still always not what you're looking for. And do these guys, do they get their butts chewed by Matt LaFleur? What ends up being kind of the consequences? Hey, buddy. Oh, we got a visitor. Here, you come and sit with me for the rest of the video then. We're talking about Packers Broncos. Okay. Yeah. Did they get chewed out? Is there a fire kind of lit under their butts by head coach Matt LaFleur? Um, what what ends up coming from a poor joint practice, if anything? Third, returners and debut guys. I mentioned I'd like to see um, 60 snaps of Jordan Morgan, especially if he's going to play guard, especially if he's going to play right guard. Uh, I'd like to see 60 snaps against a different color helmet. I really would. He's a left side player, left tackle all the way through college. And look, he can be great, but I was talking about this with somebody on Twitter the other day. Like his versatility as a draft prospect is all theoretical. It's because he's a short tackle with short arms. And the versatility means he's shown he can play tackle in a Power Four conference. He's shown he can be effective, really effective. If that doesn't work out, he's definitely the size and the parameters of a high level guard. And the versatility there is more theoretical than it is in practice. We want to see the real practical versatility. We want to see, Jordan Morgan play some guard, and I would like him to play, some guard against guys in a different colored helmet. Do we see Tyron Hopper? I was really hard on that draft pick. I'd like to see him play defense. I'd like to see what he's kind of all about. I'd like to see what Brian saw because I've already admitted I was wrong about Evan Williams. I want to see what Tyron Hopper has in the tank. I want to see him play football. Donovan Jennings, I thought a guy that could make this roster. I want to see him play football. I want to see where they line him up. I thought he could be a decent guard. Are they going to try him at tackle? I want to see Donovan Jennings. And then Carrington Valentine in a big spot. I don't think we're going to see Edgerrin Cooper, but Carrington Valentine trying to beat out Eric Stokes for that starting job. Can't do it in the tub. Can't do it in the tub. Roster battles, number 4. I think Monk and Ryan are safe, so that's 7 because obviously nothing's going to happen to Jordan Morgan. Is Andre Dillard trending towards being safe? Is that locked down? Is that going to happen? So then the 9th guy. What are the odds of who's that going to be? Because they're going to keep a 9th guy, right? Is Travis Glover that guy? Is Tenuta that guy? Is Caleb Jones that guy? Is it one of the interior guys that have been taking snaps like Lessida Smith? Who ends up being if the 8th person is going to be Dillard? Who ends up being that last offensive lineman on the roster? Is AJ Dillon in actual trouble? How much work does he get? I think there's a chance, and this would throw people for a little bit of a loop. I think there's a chance he gets basically like no work against the Broncos because Matt LaFleur already has him penciled in on the roster, which would drive people nuts. But I think there's at least a chance that happens. I think if you don't see A.J. Dillon against the Broncos, it probably means they still believe he's going to be on the team. And, whatever kind of power back, fullback, H-back, like role they're trying to figure out for him, if he gets a lot of work, I think he's in more trouble than if he gets very little work. How about tight ends? Kraft and Musgrave are obviously safe. So Joel Wilson had a really great game against Cleveland. What does he get to show? Him versus Tyler Davis versus Ben Sims. How many roster spots is that for? Is it 3 guys fighting for 2? Is it 3 guys fighting for 1? I don't think they're going to keep 5 tight ends. That seems crazy. So how does this tight end battle continue if Joel Wilson continues to play at the level he's been playing at, or at least played at against the Browns? And how many spots, again, is that for? Is there an extra spot, sort of, because DeGuara is not around for like fullback tight end stuff? Do they want to keep somebody who can do some of that? I don't know. I'm interested to watch all of that, and that's a battle to me that is something you can sort of keep an eye on as you watch this Packers Broncos game. Excuse me. And the last thing sort of ties into the second thing that I said, but it's all part of the same, kind of competitive ecosystem, is effort and wanting to win. Matt LaFleur is 6-8 in the preseason, which means absolutely nothing, especially you consider, how often he's probably wanted to have his starting quarterback in a preseason game. A 6-8 record makes a lot of sense. You're not going to see their starting quarterback in this game. But last week, they were definitely outgunned at quarterback. I talked about it in the recap. You talk about DTR, Deshaun Watson, who didn't play, but even just going into a preseason game with Jameis Winston, DTR, and Tyler Huntley, Green Bay should have been outgunned at the most important position, which was quarterback, and they kind of kicked the Browns' butts. So you have that rough joint practice on Friday. Things probably don't go the way that the Packers want, and you're paying attention to that, but also just how hard is Matt LaFleur trying, right, for the Clifford Pratt of it all? How many reps do the big guys get for Jeff Hafley as you're trying to install a completely different thing? When we talked about on the film review show with Dusty, he and I talking about just the percentages of single high compared to last year. It's crazy. This is a completely different defense that they're installing, and this is really their opportunity to get it in against guys in different colored jerseys than theirs. So effort level, wanting to win, how broad they're willing to go schematically, both offensively and defensively, all stuff to sort of pay attention to. Ultimately, the win-loss doesn't matter, but guess what? It was more fun to beat the Browns last week than it was to lose to them. Okay, guys, thank you so much for watching or listening. If you are on the podcast side, you can follow me. I am at Ross Uglem over there on X, or formerly known as Twitter. We are at Packer Report 66. Other than that, do everything you're supposed to do here on the Pack-A-Day YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, click the bell to get the notifications so that you can get every bit of Packers content that you require on a daily basis. Have a great weekend, everybody, and go Pack Go.